Hey folks, you know what I haven't had a bash at yet? Guessing the name of the highly anticipated sequel to Breath of the Wild. I mean, I've thrown some random guesses here and there, but I've never seriously sat down and came up with some genuinely thought out guesses with logic behind them. I will say now, this idea is inspired by my good friend M to the B to the... wait, oh no. M to the N to the B, MNB, I got that wrong. Mass Nintendo Bandit. I watched his video, Do We Already Know the Name of Breath of the Wild 2, a little while back, and that inspired my idea of just guessing the name in my own sort of style. I'm just now getting round to the idea, but I highly recommend checking out his video as it did inspire this one. Link below. Now, we're not going full on detective to find an answer here. For me, it's more about just having the chance to get creative and thinking about the sequel. I have so much excitement for this game and I can't find enough to talk about sometimes. Yes, I know it's oversaturated, but when it comes to creative topics, I can't help myself. So today, we will be playing a little game that I'm calling Name the Game, Breath of the Wild 2 Edition. Be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps the channel out, and let's get into this one. So where should we begin when it comes to naming a game? Well, we should look to the points of interest regarding the game so far. For me, there are 3 main points currently, and to be honest, I couldn't see these changing or many more being introduced as we go on with future trailers. Our 3 key points are the Green Hand, Ganondorf, and the sky. Sure, we could also consider theories regarding the timeline placement of this game and or theories regarding Ganondorf and how/why is he deep below Hyrule, and that will come into it slightly, but mainly we're basing guesses around the 3 main mentioned key points. I'll be going over each key point, suggesting my name ideas, and then at the end of all of that, narrowing down the options and coming to one idea. Starting with the Green Hand, let's get thinking. Aside from Ganondorf, the Green Hand was the big talking point of this game when it was first revealed to be a thing. The green magic spirals around the King of Evil, held down by some sort of magical, powerful, and unknown force in the form of a green hand. The hand is also seen saving Princess Zelda from a nasty fall. Presumably, the hand is on our side. We also saw in the second trailer that the hand has sort of latched onto Link or given him some sort of ability. It'll definitely be playing a key role of sorts. On our side. The immediate name that comes to mind for me here is Hand of the Hero, for 2 reasons. One, it clearly has a connection to Link now, the hero. And secondly, the many theories floating around that suggest this hand could be that of a former hero. Those 2 reasons alone form this name. It's a decent suggestion, but does rely on the hand playing as much of a role as we're assuming. Another name that came to mind was Hand of Time. This one stemming from a similar perspective as the last, but also taking into account the theories that we'll be travelling in time again. The suggested evidence primarily being that Hyrule we see below the skies is looking different to the one we know, along with this prehistoric looking creature that wasn't seen in the first game. It's a bit more of a wild guess, but it works. I have 2 others, one which doesn't require too much discussion, a helping hand, because it's basically just a pun, but I also thought of a sealed fate, directly referencing to the seal on Ganondorf. I mentioned these 2 last as I feel they are weaker in terms of making sense, but still very cool. And I say weaker in terms of making sense as Nintendo have openly said that the title of this game could and would reveal a lot about the game, which is why they're holding off on telling us a title until near release. Anyway, those are my hand related ideas. Moving to our king, Ganondorf, the first big focal point that fans were talking about. The return of the mighty King of Evil. The main things to discuss here regarding a force of evil as strong and iconic as him is of course the curse upon Hyrule to replant evil time and time again, and also the question of how is Ganondorf back again. The first 2 names that came to mind for me were the Broken Curse and the Curse Returns, with the latter being my favourite of the 2. I don't think the Zelda team has ever really made the big bad of the game their focal point in the title. Now would be the perfect opportunity, especially with all the hype and anticipation around this undead looking Ganondorf. Personally, I like The Curse Returns more from those 2, but my next one might top that. I also considered the possible title of Return of the King. Literal chills. If the game does take a large focal point around not just Ganondorf himself, but the backstory, story, and new lore surrounding his return, then this title would be an absolute perfect fit for the game. Imagine at the next showcase for this game, we get a new trailer, and it has a lot more Ganondorf focus. Then at the end, we see the title, The Legend of Zelda, Return of the King. That would be awesome. The only thing going against any names in this area is that Zelda games don't tend to be named after the big bad. It's typically a relic, land, or person outside of Link, Zelda, and the big bad. I did also note down the idea of Evil Rises, but with a name like Return of the King on the table, I think Evil Rises can sit back down. Sit down and bow to the king. Anyway, moving on to our final key point, the sky. This is the latest talking point that took fans by storm. An ancient looking Link traversing an ancient looking sky. A sky filled with islands, ruins, and possibly much more. We know next to nothing about these islands, their origins, potential inhabitants, and whatnot. We just know that somehow, at some point, Link will explore them. So the ideas don't have much backing behind them, but here it goes. I thought of Land of the Gods, Skies of Time, Land of the Hero, and Lost in Time. I'm sure you can figure out where each stems from based on points already talked about regarding theories on the game in this video, but those are my ideas for this key point, and to be honest, we don't know enough for me to really say much more here. So, with each key point covered, what ideas are the best? To begin the narrowing down process, I'll take one idea from each segment, starting with the Green Hand. We had the ideas Hand of the Hero, Hand of Time, Helping Hand, and a Sealed Fate. Of these four, I definitely take Hand of the Hero as the best pick. In the Ganondorf department, we have The Broken Curse, The Curse Returns, Return of the King, and Evil Rises. If it wasn't made obvious earlier, I am definitely picking Return of the King. I love it. And in the Sky department, we have Land of the Gods, Skies of Time, Lands of the Hero, and Lost in Time. Of these, I'd take Lost in Time. That leaves us with 3 remaining title ideas: Hand of the Hero, Return of the King, and Lost in Time. I'll be eliminating them one by one and starting with Lost in Time. I think I have to drop this one due to the lack of knowledge of this new area. That's really it. It's new and has no real connections to anything or anyone like the other two. That leaves us with 2 options: Hand of the Hero and Return of the King. Will the focus be on the new mysterious Green Hand, or will it give the returning king a spotlight to shine? For this elimination, I have to pick Hand of the Hero, making Return of the King my personal guess at the title of the currently unnamed sequel to Breath of the Wild 2. In full, my guess would be that the title is The Legend of Zelda: Return of the King. Thanks a ton for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content. If you haven't already, be sure to hop in our Discord server through the link below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to keep up to date, and as always, a huge special thank you goes out to all of my supporters across Patreon and YouTube. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout out upon joining and your name at the end of every video, then consider supporting. Again, thanks for watching, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.